Namaskar. In this series, our next topic is intervention programs. If we review various definitions of positive psychology, one of them is positive psychology is the scientific study of optimal human functioning which aims to discover and promote factors that allow individuals and communities to thrive. So, in this section, we discover and promote those factors that help us to thrive. In this direction, there are various studies related to intervention programs, and these studies recommending that adaptation and validation of existing intervention programs need to be undertaken. However, mere adaptation is not enough in some unique settings, but activities and interpretation of results needs to be done in the light of culture specificity. And in this section, I will talk about cultural issues. We can divide such kind of researches in three sections. One, deliberately delivered intervention modules to promote well-being, or we can say traditional positive psychology intervention programs. Second, lay strategies, where we may ask people what do they think, which activities could increase their level of happiness. Third, to study existing socio-cultural and religious spiritual practices in the society to promote well-being. If we take example of Indian setting, then there are several socio-cultural factors like Rahagiri Day in Delhi and Haryana. I will discuss in detail about it later. And religious spiritual practices. For example, 5 to 7 days residential programs are there from Sahaj Marg, Art of Living Foundation, Isha Foundation, etc. And I think these programs have specific changes or significant impact on well-being indicators. So, such kind of studies could be conducted in this direction. When I am talking about intervention programs, I think we should take this model into account once again, where it has been mentioned that there is 50% set point, or we can say that's our nature and difficult to change for happiness or for other positive psychology constructs. On the other hand, this model saying that 10% role of circumstances. On the other hand, 40% role of intentional activities. So, in this section, our objective is to explore all those intentional activities which could help us to improve happiness, well-being and other positive psychology constructs. Let us take first area in this direction, that is positive psychology interventions. I have taken one meta-analytic research in which they have explored number of intervention strategies which have been used in various researches. These strategies are resilience improving exercises, optimism and gratitude exercise, doing acts of kindness, writing about positive experiences, practicing gratitude by counting one's blessings, writing about best possible selves, rehearsal of positive statements, thinking about positive life experiences, hopeful goal directing thinking, self management, positive bibliotherapy, the use of selected reading materials as therapeutic messages, cultivating secret moments, solution focused coaching, life coaching and attaining of goals, use your strength in a new way, working for wellness program, positive future thinking, projecting a positive self in the future. Some other strategies like savoring the moment, strengths exercises, positive thinking, life coaching and attainment of goals, positive writing. By knowing all these strategies, then scholars actually decide or prepare a tailor-made program for certain study. For example, they could select out of all these strategies package of 4, maybe package of 6 or 8 positive psychology exercise such as active constructive responding, gratitude visit, life summary, 3 good things, savoring strengths, etc. Or on the other hand, in another model or another study, they have selected 3 good things, signature strengths, self compassion, optimism, compassionate, etc. So, like that they could have various strategies and out of them may decide to select some of them for their research purposes. Positive psychology intervention programs are quite famous in college setting, in school settings. Web-based intervention programs are available, and various other settings like in communities and societies. We have certain intervention programs and study their effectiveness. So, let us understand this area with certain researches which are conducted by our group. One research which is part of Pulkit Khanna's thesis, do all positive psychology exercises work for everyone? This research is replication of Seligman's and his associates interventions program. The present study aimed to replicate the widely popular positive psychological interventions of Seligman's and his associates intervention modules in a different culture and demographic groups of Indian adolescents. So, their intervention program, which was established and published in 2005, was replicated here in Indian setting. For this purposes, we selected 372 students. Their mean age was 12.73 and standard deviation 0.98. Their age range was 11 to 13 years. Out of them, 56% were males and remaining females. And this study was conducted in 2 schools. Participating classroom were randomized across 5 interventions: 3 good things in life, gratitude visit, you at your best, using signature strengths, and using signature strengths in a new way. And one placebo control group recalling early memories was there. So, I think if you know about this research paper, these are the strategies along with this placebo control group they have compared. Each exercise was completed over 1 week. Self-reported measures of well-being, affect, happiness and depressive symptoms were obtained at pre and post testing. I think you know about it. In all intervention programs, we have 3 phases. First phase, pre-testing. Second phase, when we deliver our intervention programs, and third phase, post testing. And in such kind of researches, we compare pre and post testing. Participants who undertook the gratitude visit and signature strength based interventions reported gains or higher level in well-being, life satisfaction and happiness at post testing. Interventions involving only self-reflection and journaling showed no statistical significant impact on outcome variables. None of the interventions led to perceived gain in scores of depressive symptoms. So, to some extent, we observed different results in Indian setting. Let us take another example to understand how intervention programs work. Recently, we have conducted an experiment by considering intervention programs, and it happened at 2 places, at Facebook, our NPPA website, as well as in classroom setting. That is why this study has 2 sections: a web-based psycho-spiritual intervention program for college students and a psycho-spiritual intervention program for college students in classroom setting. In this program, we had 14 recorded sessions, and these sessions were 25 to 30 minutes each. In these sessions, there was a combination of applied sources of positive psychology, thought-provoking videos of Indian spiritual leaders. That is why we are calling it psycho-spiritual intervention program. Videos of motivational speakers and animated based short videos were also included in this plan, and by considering all these 3, I recorded 14 sessions. We try to follow an edutainment approach. So, once again, because I will discuss this study in detail, we had 14 recorded sessions, and in these sessions we used some videos which were from spiritual domain or from motivational speakers, and along with these 2 applied sources of positive psychology I discussed in these videos, and 14 sessions were recorded, and at Facebook these were delivered one by one as well as in classroom setting. You could see here we conducted this study at Facebook. Second, in classroom setting, could see some photographs when they are participating in testing, when they are watching these videos, and here I am debriefing after the research about the results. So, in this case we had 14 sessions as I mentioned, Session 1 was related to connection between thinking style and well-being, second on time management, third on stress management. Then I had various sessions on happiness and different aspects of happiness I discussed in these sessions. And then intelligence and emotional intelligence. 11th session was on emotional well-being, then motivation and well-being, and 13th session was on depression and well-being, and then at the end overall well-being. Videos which we used in this study were from Guyevich, Emotional Hygiene, An Algorithm for Happiness, Sadhguru's videos focused on interpersonal relations we had in this video. You watched this video during happiness chapter. Who am I? From Vivekananda's certain motivational stories we borrowed, and about character strengths, as well as some small programs or small messages. For example, अपने सुख और दुख का रचयिता कौन, and it's very interesting small clip which we have taken here, which is from Mahabharata. So like that we try to strengthen our psychological messages with the help of spiritual and motivational speakers. Let's know in detail about all these sessions, and knowing about these sessions would help in two ways. One, you could see how we have certain intervention programs. Second, if you are researcher and thinking to have research in this area, then you could get certain ideas what kind of intervention programs we can develop. So session 1, connection between thinking style and well-being we had. Here I mainly focus on connection between thoughts, emotions and behavior, individual differences in thinking and cognition, optimistic versus pessimistic thinking, and cognitive behavioral therapy, how these therapies works. And in supporting videos we had Apne Sukh Dukh Ke Rachiyata Kaun, Your Life is in Your Hands from Vivekananda's story. Life is 10% of what you make it and 90% of how you take it. Session 2 was on time management. Here I focused on time management, its benefits, process and steps, and discussed about Skinner's 5 main obstacles in learning and strategies to overcome them. Time management and self-management strategies were discussed in this session. And in supporting videos, marshmallow test, I think you could recall during experimental methods you watched this video. Who am I from Vivekananda's sayings, showing seeds of life was another motivational video. In session 3, stress management, stress, stressors, use stress and distress, differences, mind body connections, biopsychosocial model was discussed here, and GAS model, that's general adaptation syndrome model of stress was discussed and its usefulness, effects of stress, stress and task performance, individual differences in which we focused on personality factors like optimism, pessimism, type A personality, neuroticism, hardiness. So we discussed about the stress prone as well as stress proof personalities and coping with stress. So here supporting videos were a glass of water, how heavy is it? An animated story, that is, in this story they are saying that if we have something in our hand, so if it's say for longer period or for very longer period, no matter how light it is, but it is stressful for us, and if it's for longer period, then it may be very harmful for us. One another Sadhguru's message was there, antidote to stress. Then we shifted on happiness, and first of all I discussed about various models which I have discussed here also in your discourse. So World Happiness Report was discussed, economic indicators are not sufficient for gauging the overall development of nations, Indian Asian Buddhist perspective of happiness, peace of mind, harmony, subjective well-being, then PERMA model, self-acceptance and positive evaluation of oneself and one's past. So these all factors were discussed in the video. And in the next one, fundamental happiness paradox, benefits of happiness, I think you can easily connect with it your course, because I have covered all these topics in your course. brain and happiness, formula for happiness and the happiness advantage, you must be knowing about it now. What determines happiness, a recipe for happiness by a dinner. So all those topics were discussed in this session. After that, we shifted on applications of happiness, and in the session 6, happiness and quality of life, connection between facilities, technology, wealth and happiness, wave of positive behavior, happiness as a precursor of success. And here some videos like what is happiness, learn how to be happy in your life, happiness is helping others, and an algorithm for happiness was certain videos which they watched along with this information. In the 7th session, Maslow's hierarchy of theories, inner re-engineering, humans are programmed to grow, how other influence our behavior, our own negative thoughts, the trigger to our negative mood state. These all aspects of our behavior were discussed. Along with all these aspects, enjoy every moment of your life by Himesh, a motivational speaker. Don't put your key to happiness in someone else's pocket. Sadhguru's message was there. Steps for happiness from Sandeep Maheshwari. In next session, 8th one, again happiness, but another aspects of happiness like mindfulness and how it is linked with happiness. Benefits of meditation, how meditation works, and repairing additive stress. Then there were some supporting videos from mindfulness, like Gautam Buddha's inspiring story. Dhyan or Labh was another video which was included in this session. How to meditate, mindfulness meditation. So such kind of videos were supporting in this session. Session 9, happiness and well-being, again the same one, but another aspects of happiness where happy habits were discussed, and in this class also I will discuss about certain happy habits. Happy habits while dealing with others, characteristics of happy people, and the golden triangle of happiness was discussed here. Supporting video was the science of character. I think you have watched this video. Session 10th was intelligence and emotional intelligence. So we discussed about intelligence and IQ. Can we change IQ? Emotional intelligence and EQ. Can we change EQ? Emotional quotient. Triakic theory of intelligence and then mixed model of emotional intelligence we discussed here. I think now you know about all these aspects because that has been part of your course. And here related videos or supporting videos were on emotional intelligence and the skill our students deserve, that's emotional intelligence. Then emotional well-being, where we focused mainly on emotional hygiene. Thoughts, emotions, behavior, what are the connections among these three? Happiness and positive emotions, emotional and social well-being was discussed here, as well as emotional first aid for psychological injuries, loneliness, social support, thinking errors, and various other aspects we discussed here. Again, I think you have watch this video, emotional hygiene, how to avoid negativity, again by Himesh. That video was included in this session. In session 12th, it was motivation and well-being, and here I focused mainly on motivation. Motivation, its meaning, intrinsic and extrinsic motivation, autotelic personality, influence of motivation on happiness and well-being, self-determination theory, autonomy, competence and relatedness I discussed in this section. Self and related concept, the role of our inner voice I discussed in this section. And supporting videos were why you should never lose hope. Life means struggle. Life changing motivational videos were the part of this session. Then the 13th one was on depression and well-being, because positive psychology is not saying always positive aspects only. If we know certain other things are hampering our well-being, I think we should include even in positive psychological interventions. You know, nowadays depression is increasing like anything in our society. So that's why I decided to add one session on depression. In this session, I included depression, let's talk, psychosomatic, somatopsychological disorders, depression, the silent killer, symptoms and the need for it awareness, Seeking help online and offline, I discussed various models over there. Awakening the mind, mood disorder, how to stop worrying and start living. So these were the supporting videos in this session. At the last, overall well-being was addressed. Yoga and meditation as tools for well-being, and there are some very interesting videos, and I'll recommend you must watch these videos to have better understanding of human nature, where Dr. Lisa Rankin talking about mind over medicine, pink medicine revolution, are you making yourself sick? And in all these videos actually she is against medicines, and she is saying that if you have psychological reasons of your problems, then you should sort out those psychological reasons rather you are eating medicines. In this section I focused on digital mindfulness and digital meditation also. Supporting videos were Ye Kya Keh Diya, Dr. Ujjwal Patni's message. In this message actually he is criticizing today's education system. He is saying that we are not able to develop overall view of our personality. Another video was on don't allow your life to be controlled by these 5 things. So like that we discussed about psychological factors as well as supported those factors through spiritual literature as well as motivational speakers. The original source and creator of all the videos have been given proper acknowledgement in this in these recorded videos, and we actually delivered this module as well as did pre and post testing in Hindi. So mainly this program was for Hindi speaking population. Hindi subtitles have been added to all the videos where we were not able to provide it in Hindi. As you know, this intervention program has been delivered on 2 groups. First, Facebook group, and second, classroom setting group. In the first group there were 42 participants, and in another one 308. Their age wise you could see all of them were college students, first year to fourth year students. So in both cases this intervention program was delivered for college students. Measures or psychological tests which have been used here for pre and post testing. These tests were mental well-being scale, general well-being scale, thriving scale, life satisfaction, peace of mind, Kenner-Davidson resilience scale, depression and anxiety and stress scale. In this study, we also collected data by using open-ended questions. So, pre-testing participants also responded to a set of questions on the factors influencing their level of happiness and the behavior changes they want to bring in themselves. For post-testing, open-ended questions related to intervention programs we added. Group number 2, I did debriefing sessions, and in these sessions I discussed about results as well as benefits of such kind of programs. Participants of the first group completed a set of measures during pre-intervention and post-intervention as well as during follow-up, which happened after 21 days, and the second group completed a set of measures during pre and post testing only. Let us discuss about results. So, first of all, Facebook group or group number 1, if you just see their results on different indicators, we observe that harmony in life and resilience scale, these two are not significant. Except these two, we can say their mental well-being changed positively, general well-being improved, thriving improved, their peace of mind improved, as well as their depression, anxiety, stress total score deteriorated or reduced here. So, these results are favorable and showing that yes, there were some significant changes in their well-being indicators. If we compare pre-testing and follow-up scores, which happened after 21 days. So, again these are significant changes and could see again except resilience all other variables have been improved positively. For example, mental well-being, general well-being, thriving, peace of mind, harmony in life, all have been improved during this period. On the other hand, depression, anxiety, stress reduced when we compare pre-testing and follow-up. So, we can say there was significant change during follow-up. On the other hand, when we compare post-testing and follow-up, you just see very interesting results are there. After post-testing, there were no changes in their well-being, neither positively nor negatively. So, to some extent, their level of well-being or well-being indicators level was stable even after 21 days. In the second study, which happened in classroom setting, when we compare pre-testing and post-testing, again we are getting good results and observed that all well-being indicators except depression, anxiety, stress, they improved their well-being on various well-being indicators. We also tested pre-testing of these two groups and observed that group number 2 is better in almost all cases as compared to group number 1. You could see group number 1 has poorer well-being as compared to group number 2. On the other hand, they have quite high level of depression, anxiety, stress score compared to group 2. These results suggest us to take into account pre-testing of various groups if we are doing group comparisons. As you know, we had qualitative data also. So, let us discuss about this qualitative data. In this qualitative data, we ask various questions like perceived facilitators of happiness of Indian college students. So, we asked, what do you think? What are the facilitators of happiness? They reported various responses. Here you could see number. However, in this presentation I will focus more on these factors only. So, these are percentage of responses. Percentage of responses means if someone has given 3 responses, so we counted 3 responses of this person, and in this case total responses versus particular domains responses multiplied by 100, and this way we have calculated here percentage of responses. Once again, I would like to clarify it. It's percentage of total percentage of responses, not total percentage of participants. So, for example, one person has given 3 responses in one category. His 3 responses have been counted, rather this person's participation as a one person. So, it's percentage of total responses versus responses in this category and multiplied by 100. So, in this category we observed that facilitators of happiness in this category which were pursued by these college students were healthy interpersonal relationships, a sense of accomplishment, engagement in leisure time activities, positive personality traits, good academic performance, pro-social behavior, seeing others happy, engagement in meaningful and productive work, health and lifestyle oriented factors, new learning and experiences, fulfillment of parental expectations, inner peace, spending time nature, spending time with oneself, financial security, positive feedback from others, effective time management, social media, praying, etc. were the factors which they have highlighted as facilitator of well-being. Then our next question was on inhibitors. They observed that negative emotions, negative thinking, personal failure, negative behavior of others, stress, social issues and inequalities, financial constraints, staying away from family, poor study habits, poor time management, conflicts in interpersonal relationships, difficulty in life, unhappiness of others, lack of self-confidence, breakdown of interpersonal trust, poor academic performance, physical illness, criticism, poor lifestyle, loneliness, mobile phone, future-oriented worries, poor English communication skills, and some miscellaneous factors they have highlighted. On the other hand, when we ask positive behavior changes they want to make in themselves or in their life, then they focused on developing good study habits and work ethics, positive thinking, better emotional regulation, effective time and stress management, good behavior, work on self-confidence, health and lifestyle oriented changes, achieving personal goals, contributing to the betterment of society, building healthier interpersonal relationships, being empathetic and non-judgmental, greater knowledge acquisition, greater engagement in leisure time activities, keeping away from negative influences, prioritizing oneself over others, adapting to changing circumstances, and some miscellaneous factors they have highlighted. During post-testing, we ask, do you feel the present program has the potential to improve the well-being of college students? You just see in the first group 44%, 100% participants said yes. On the other hand, in second group 88% students said yes, and some students didn't respond except one student. Have you participated in programs like this before? We observed that most of them didn't participate. For example, here 37 students saying that they didn't, and here 205 students. On the other hand, 65 students participated and 38 didn't respond on this question. Would you like to participate in such type of programs in the future? Most of them said yes. This side you could see 43, and this side you could see 267 students said yes, they wanted to participate in such kind of programs even in future. Which aspect of this program did you like? They said sessions on happiness. They liked sessions on time and stress management, positive behavioral changes, inclusion of videos of motivational speaker, importance of positive thinking, role of meditation and yoga in well-being. They highlighted positive feeling and greater self-confidence, awareness on depression. They liked self-knowledge, and some miscellaneous factors they highlighted. We also asked suggestions for improvement in future intervention programs. They said positive feedback, regularity, greater outreach programs could be there, addition of more topics. They suggested duration of his sessions, discussion of problems relevant to students, equipment related problems they highlighted, and nature of speech. They said more motivational way of speaking could be there. Video related things they discuss, inclusion of more videos of Indian motivational speakers, greater information about the research studies that we mentioned, gap between the sessions. They said there was very less gap between the sessions. So such kind of suggestions they have highlighted for this program. When we ask about suggested topics for future interventions, they said time and stress management topics, motivation and academic achievement, self and related processes, positive thinking, emotions and emotional regulation, on depression, human behavior, problem solving and strategies and coping, self-confidence, peaceful and harmonious living, interpersonal relationships, personality. On these topics we could add some more. Similarly, we had another research which happened in 2009. It was in classroom setting where we focused more on self-management, inter and external locus of control, ways of boosting the moral and self-esteem. So, we had again 14 sessions in classroom setting. In lieu of tutorial, we delivered these modules. That was my positive psychology course. And in this course here at IIT Delhi, we have classes as well as tutorials, and in each session or each semester we have 14 sessions of tutorial classes. So, in these 14 classes, in first class I introduced this intervention program as well as did pre-testing, and in the last I did post-testing, and in between in 12 sessions or 12 classes I delivered various modules, as well as I had number of assignments related to this intervention program only, and we got promising results by this intervention program. So, in this intervention program our focus was on self-management, where I discussed about introspect and retrospect your life, self-talk, accurate self-knowledge, emotional, cognitive, behavioral things were discussed, purpose in life, perceived self, ideal self and actual self, discrepancies and all those things I discussed in this module. Where are you spending your energy? What is important to you? Immediate delayed gratification was discussed through experiment. Actually, we discussed it in detail. In another session, I discussed about internal and external locus of control as a key of self-management, optimism, progressive muscles relaxation were discussed, physical exercise and meditation as self-management activities. So, through all these activities, I just highlighted how in positive psychology researches these activities are helping us to have better well-being. In the next session, ways of boosting their morale and self-esteem related messages we had, and happy thoughts, happy emotions, best possible selves were discussed, writing about 3 good things happened and done by them, and all those factors like on humor we had discussion. Interpersonal focus strategies were discussed, gratitude, forgiveness, altruistic behavior and empathy to others. Students were asked to review their religion, customs, traditions and ask how they observe certain religious practices or customs or traditions which may help us to have better well-being. For example, if you know about Jain religion, they have one day called Shamayachna. On this day, they ask their near and dear people to forgive them if they have done something bad with them. Time management, stress management, relationship management and emotional intelligence perspective were discussed in different sessions, and we observed promising results. We observed on certain well-being indicators students improved their well-being. After discussing this section, our concluding comments are: positive educational initiative. Based on the present findings, we recommend the inclusion of such type of interventions as part of the traditional academic curriculum in higher educational institutes in India. Standardized intervention programs we could have. You know about the psychological test, and we have discussed again and again about their standardization, about their psychometric properties. Could we have some standardized intervention programs? And we have their validation, and people could easily adapt them or could replicate in different settings because these are already standardized intervention programs. So, we have to have some standardized intervention programs so that next researcher or new researchers could them use as it is, or if they want to have some adaptation, they could do that. Next point is positive technology and its use. You know, technology is quite advanced nowadays, and we people could use technology to deliver our intervention programs. However, there were some limitations in these studies, like inclusion of a control group which was not there, can be included in future research. Debriefing of web-based group may be there through a live Facebook session, or maybe some more follow-up testing in classroom setting could be there. So, to some extent there were certain limitations of these researches, and in future researches these things can be overcome by having some additional control group or some other sessions, live Facebook sessions, or some more follow-up to have more scientific and rigorous research. Second area here is some lay strategies for improving happiness and well-being. There are various studies which are talking about happy habits or happiness increasing activity. In such kind of researches, they just ask lay person, what do you think, what are the happiness increasing activities, and then they prepare a list, and then in future they may ask tick which activities you follow for getting higher level of happiness. So, in this case they observed that at individual level the highlighted happy habits or happiness increasing activities are pursuing goals that are important to me, being optimist, 68.4% highlighted this activity, doing physical exercise or sports, savoring life's joys, acting like a happy person, doing activities that make me feel in the moment, practicing religion and spirituality, using strategies that help me cope with stress and adversity. Similarly, some more strategies like avoiding overthinking and comparing myself to others, practicing meditation, and there were some happy habits while dealing with others, like practicing acts of kindness towards others, expressing gratitude, nurturing my social relationships, forgiving others. These are the strategies which are perceived by laymen or perceived by the people as happiness increasing activities or happy habits, we can say. And then they prepared a checklist, and in next researches, by using this checklist, one could study which activities are highlighted as happy habits. So that could be another type of research to highlight what are the activities which help us to improve well-being, and these are the perceived activities by the participants which they think they may improve their well-being. In this category, third section is religious, spiritual or socio-cultural strategies. Again, in this area, I will support this domain with some of our researches. First of all, just revision of previous information. As you know, we have already discussed about yoga, meditation and intervention programs, and I highlighted in one of the class that Maharishi University of Management has conducted number of researches. Over 500 studies have been completed on the physiological, psychological and sociological effects of the Maharishi Transcendental Meditation and TM Siddhi program, making it perhaps the most intensively studied technology in the field of human development. These studies have been conducted at 210 different universities and research institutes in 27 countries, and articles have now appeared in more than 100 scientific journals. On the other hand, we also discussed about various type of meditation like focusing, concentrating meditation, opening up or mindfulness meditation, asking or contemplative meditation, which we have already discussed in details. Here to put this information, message is studies on effectiveness of yoga and meditation may possibly come under this category. So, when we are saying religious spiritual practices and happiness or positive psychology, then yoga meditational practices could be part of this area. Now, some very local strategies. I think I discussed about this research paper, but here in detail I would like to discuss with you so that you can understand how socio-cultural practices could contribute to our well-being, and these local practices we must highlight because these are from very much our culture. In this research, Satsang, a culture specific effective practice for well-being. We published this research paper in this book, The Positive Nations and Communities. Let's discuss this research. This research is second part of this research paper. In this section, our research question was, does singing folk songs acts as music therapy, intervention, especially singing bhajan in satsang? For this research, a group of 25 to 30 women participants almost every day were interviewed, as well as we had focus group discussion. Their mean age was 55 years, range 45 to 85. 45 years 8 members were there, and even 85 years old 4 members were there. Education wise, 10th pass with teaching training 50%, 8 to 12 pass homemakers were 25, and some of them were uneducated. Occupation status, right now all of them were homemakers. However, some of them were retired school teachers, and they go in different parks, they sit there and do satsang. So, you could see some photographs. For example, these women singing songs, and educated women, retired school teachers help to recall new songs, new bhajans by reading during singing. You could see some copies available here, diaries available here. Come with their accessories like water bottle, stick, items for sitting comfortably. In some cases, they come with their grandchildren, and this way they are contributing to the family also. On auspicious occasions, group is invited to members' house for satsang. So they just go each other's home whenever is required. They share prasad and donation money in some cases, and prasad daily after satsang. And this is not only one group. There are various groups you could see, especially in North India, especially in Haryana, because this study has been conducted from Haryana only. So, you could see another group singing songs or doing satsang. In this research, I did interview as well as focus group discussions and observed that these are the themes which they have, and quite facilitating themes these are to psychological well-being. For example, in interviews and focus group discussions, the themes emerged. Free from stressors during singing they have healthier interpersonal relations, and this period, because they come outside from their houses, so that's why entertainment of the day can be counted this activity. They have strong social support and family contribution because some of them come with their grandchildren. Women's visit outside and actively involved pro-social behavior, because on various occasions, religious occasions, they donate money. They donate money to anath ashram, gaushala or vridashram. So they collect from everyone, and then collected money they send to these ashrams. And to some extent, because that's the last stage of our life, to feel purpose of life, to do satsang, singing religious spiritual songs, sharing with same age group, that is also promoting well-being. So I observed that these are the factors which are connected with these women, and that's why they have better psychological well-being. And in this research, one more point which I have mentioned over there, do they need to go through intervention module for enhancing their well-being, or should we highlight benefits of such type of socio-cultural activities in our society? In this series, we did another research. Research was on religious and spiritual messages in folk songs. What do they sing in these songs? So it has been reported in various studies that music in general and satsang, singing folk songs in a group in particular, has a positive effect on well-being. The present paper focuses on an analysis of what the rural women sing in the songs in satsang and how it is facilitating well-being. The study area is Haryana, a state in India. Content analysis of these songs has been done after categorizing them broadly into three categories. Songs that, number one, sing praise of gods and goddesses. 2. Sing about incidents from scriptures. And third category was songs that convey spiritual or religious messages. In this research, we focused on the third part, songs that convey spiritual or religious messages. The paper has explored the way in disseminate spiritual religious knowledge through folk songs in the local rural society. Let's understand it with this example. Here you could see, and I discussed this model earlier also, broadly message is काम क्रोध मोह लोभ ahankar reduce our happiness. And you just see how in this sample song same message has been delivered. In this research paper, one of our sample bhajan or folk song was सखी ये पांच बड़े बलवान विचार रहे संसार में. Translation of this song is, oh my dear friend, lobh, greed, moh, attachment, krodh, काम, and ahankar means lobh, moh, krodh, काम, and ahankar. These are the five most powerful vices that are wandering around the world. They are the most powerful enemies of mankind as they lead to his total destruction. We proceed to all sorts of grief and misery due to these vices. And then this song saying stanza by stanza. First stanza saying that lobh or greed is the first among them. The deadly vice of greed leads to inordinate desire for wealth and materialistic possessions, because of which the man always remains dissatisfied. In second stanza, song is saying the voice of moho or attachment leads to excessive attachment and involvement with the family that results in the neglect of spiritual life. Third, krodh, anger, results in irrational behavior, quarrels and violence, and destroys peace and harmony within the family. Next, calm is sinful and its outcome is shame and misery. One doesn't care for the social norms or respect and dignity and degrades oneself. The last one, ahankar or ego, is proud and arrogant and leads to a person's fall. Ego is the worst of all the vices. So, you just see the model which is existing in psychology, existing in Bhagavad Gita, existing in our religious literature, how it simply has been sung in these folk songs or bhajans. We have various other experiments in this direction. For example, we have one PhD thesis by Dr. Roshni Sachar, where she has actually studied effectiveness of a Buddhist practice. And in this practice is Soka-Gakkai International's Buddhist practice, and she studied effectiveness of this practice and had various well-being indicators for in this study, like psychological well-being and some other factors of well-being index, general psychological health, gratitude, wisdom, etc. And she collected data from India, European countries and USA of practitioners and non-practitioners. And in her research findings, she observed that SGI Buddhist practitioners have significantly higher scores on all positive psychological factors of well-being indexed, general psychological health, total score of psychological well-being as well as its 6 dimensions, gratitude and total wisdom and its dimensions. Dimensions were reflective, affective and cognitive as compared to non-practitioners. So, in this study she observed that practitioners of this group had better well-being indicators compared to non-practitioners. She also compared nations because she collected data from 3 groups, India, European countries and USA, and observed that Indian samples scored significantly higher on general psychological health and American samples scored significantly higher on psychological well-being. On the other hand, some other variables like well-being index, gratitude, wisdom were not any significance as per different countries' data. One more study again to focus on the religious spiritual practices. This is again a thesis, and this paper is from Narendra Arya's thesis, Impact of 5-day spiritual practices in Himalayas ashram of Sejmag on well-being related parameters and selected physiological indicators. This study is based on effectiveness of this particular program. Impact of 5 days spiritual practice in Himalaya ashram of Sejmag on well-being related parameters and selected physiological indicators has been studied on 55 participants, 25 male and 30 female. Age range was 18 to 65 years. The results of the self-reported measures suggested that there was improvement after practice in mental health as well as its dimension, emotional and social, positive negative experiences and experiences balance on Sachidanand, on depression, anxiety and stress. However, he observed that on flourishing, on psychological well-being from mental health continuum and mindfulness didn't show any significant impact. Let us discuss one more very interesting study again from rural India. This study is associations between religious spiritual practices and well-being in Indian elderly rural women. In this research, we have highlighted 3 research questions. Number 1, what changes in health and well-being of rural Indian women are associated with engaging in a culturally tailored intervention that combined physiotherapy, relaxation exercises and satsang. And in the second question, we studied difference between non-practitioner and practitioners of existing traditions, or can say religious spiritual groups like satsang, Brahmakumaris and Radhaswami group. Third question was, how do the rural women perceive and describe factors that contribute to their happiness? This section we have explored 2 times already, so I will skip this third question. Let us discuss in detail question number 1 and 2. For this study, we had 226 elderly rural women and could see their demographic information easily. All of them were 60 plus, and their marital status was married, most of them, but some of them were widow. Education wise quite low they were, income was not very good, and if we asked about their perceived lifestyle. So, how do they perceive their lifestyle? Below average, average, above average. You could see in these two groups, no one was above average. On the other hand, Satsang, Brahmakumaris and Radhaswami's group women observed that certain percent of them had above average lifestyle. These were the indicators which we have included to assess the effectiveness of this program. Overall happiness, ideal happiness, happiness after 5 years, then for their physiological changes, buzz balance, that is balancing, body balancing measurement. So, like that we use all these measurements here. Before jumping on results, let us know a little bit more about these groups. One was field experimental group. In this field experimental group, we designed this intervention program culturally, and 1.5 hour program was there, satsang and physiotherapy as well as relaxation techniques they were supposed to do during this period. Once again, they were supposed to do, were instructed to do satsang, relaxation techniques and physiotherapy exercise, which were actually learnt by Anganwadi workers, and these Anganwadi workers invited them at Anganwadi center, and then they did these exercises. On the other hand, we selected from the group Satsang group Brahmakumaris, Radhaswami, and you know about all these three and can read this slide in detail to know what kind of activities they have highlighted here. And these groups were compared with non-practitioner group. Non-practitioner group means elderly rural women from the community, neither following any substantial religious activity nor part of our field experimental group. So, here we wanted to study field experimental groups are better or these existing religious spiritual practices are better, and that was our objective in fact. When we compared our delivered module versus non-practitioner, we observed that they had not very good results. They improved self-care as well as they improved balancing, body balancing. On the other hand, there was no impact on other physical and psychological indicators. When we compared non-practitioners with satsang practitioners, Brahmakumaris practitioners, Radhaswami practitioners, we observed that better result than previous study. Here you could see satsang actually their pain was higher, their balancing was poor, as well as their overall health status was poor among satsang participants compared to non-practitioners. And here we gave two reasons. One, on an average we had more older ladies in this group. On the other hand, doing satsang is mental exercise, not physical. So, maybe because they are not doing physical exercise, that is why poorer at physical, but supporting to our results, mental health was better as compared to non-practitioner group. On the other hand, you could see Brahmakumaris as well as Radhaswami groups results are better than previous studies, and best possible selves was better. This side happiness, happiness after 5 years, best possible life, physical health was better in both the groups, general health was better, general social activities were perceived better, quality of life, overall quality of life was better as compared to non-practitioner group. So, to some extent we can say on the basis of this study, these women who are participating in satsang, Brahmakumaris or Radha Swami, they have better mental health as compared to non-practitioners. In our focus group discussion, we have some more highlights. They wanted to move forward in life, leaving behind their unhappy memories. We also observed that physical diseases were the main cause of unhappiness. Also observed sleeplessness caused due to disturbing thoughts, memories related to unfortunate happenings in family. Feel that inner peace is most important factor. For example, they mentioned that Sukh Shanti chahiye, seeking happiness and peace. In religious spiritual group, they observed that more focused and clarity in thoughts, devoted to God, simple lifestyle they had, and they wanted to get knowledge, spiritual knowledge especially. They like to watch spiritual programs. When we take into account perceived lifestyle, more than 20% perceived above average lifestyle. So, we could connect it with autonomy. They might have better autonomy as compared to a non-practitioner group. After joining groups, they observed that better interpersonal relations in the family they had. They were less agitated. Devotion increased and more surrendered to God, Baba, Guru or the spiritual leader they were after joining the particular group. These are certain photographs from the field where they are learning certain exercises, doctor testing their physical health, some students helping us to fill up questionnaires, Anganwadi workers who helped us in this research doing satsang, and that was the team which participated in this research. I think now you would agree on this point. There is importance of culture specific understanding. I had 3 projects where I participated and learn yes, culture matters. One which I discussed with you in during happiness chapter where I discussed about lay definitions, and second from Jika Research Institute where I collaborated on the part on happiness study in Haryana. I have participated in these 3 projects, and in all these 3 projects message is culture matters. I think we psychologists focus on different segment of our population, rather we are just studying students or studying urban population. So, most important question is how can we means positive psychologists, serve those who serve us, and I think we should provide our intervention programs or facilities or psychological facilities to all sectors of our population. So, in the background of Indian philosophical research and ancient religious spiritual literature, today's psychology and positive psychology in India is positive psychology and Indian psychology's combination, that is Indian positive psychology. After knowing all these facts, I think you would be agree on this point. Indian positive psychology is combination of positive psychology and Indian psychology. The East and the West must unite to provide one another with what is lacking, and this message help us to foster or to give more weightage to Indian psychology. Let us discuss in brief current issues and future directions in this field. Positive environments and use of technology is very important for us. So, along with positive environments like positive schooling, positive institutions, positive communities and societies, we must use technology also. I have collected this recent data on 13th of August. So, you could see the numbers internet users in the world, total number of websites, emails sent today. So, in all these data sets we could reveal need to use technology, advanced technology or positive technology in positive psychology. When we talk about various programs, there are well established programs are there. For example, the SEAL, social and emotional aspects to learning. Another program is CASTLE, Collaborative for Academic, Social, Emotional Learning. Average to A plus I discussed in detail. When we take into account Indian setting, then the National Council of Educational Research and Training NCERT has identified the need to focus on the area of psychosocial development and life skills education of Indian school students, and you must be knowing about happiness curriculum in Delhi schools. So, all these programs highlight role of such kind of programs in school settings. Applications of positive psychology in counseling psychology is there, and studies saying that 47% to 77% counseling psychologists are using positive psychology strategies like well-being therapy, quality of life therapy, positive psychology therapy, hope therapy, strength centered therapy, strength based counseling they are providing. So, they are taking into account positive psychological strategies. There are various programs in different countries going on, and this study is from one of the program which is quite famous program on Masters in Applied Positive Psychology. So, in this program, this has been the data from the students who were doing this program, and they observed various positive aspects when they are doing such kind of program. So, similarly, we also wrote one book, Translational Research and Applied Psychology in India, in this year only. And in this book, we have focused on various aspects of translational research and applied psychology in India. For example, we focused on knowledge translation as well as translational research and how these two could contribute to applied psychology. Then we discussed about various research methods could be useful in applied psychology, and then domain wise we discussed applications like applications of psychology in rural India, perceived happiness and its determinants, role of religious and spiritual practices in mental health, applications of positive psychology in Indian school setting, web based interventions to improve quality of life, employee well-being in organization, and then we conclude, and in the conclusion we focused on psychology and translational research where we could go in the future. Similarly, I have been talking about socio-cultural practices. So, this is one of the practice which I observed recently in Delhi and in Haryana. They decide particular day, they decide particular place, and they all people get together, they sing, they dance, they show various creative activities. I think such kind of programs can help us to have better happiness level, and we should facilitate all those activities or socio-cultural practices which help us to have better well-being. This course is completed here, and if you want to know more about positive psychology, you could visit our association, National Positive Psychology Association, for details of all these research papers available at my website. You want to read some more research paper, please write to me, and you can get all those research papers which we have published. Simultaneously, if you are a researcher and interested to use some psychological tests which have been adapted or developed by us, please write to us. We will share our research papers on those psychological tests as well as those psychological tests which you want to use in your research. So, we could share with you. Thank you very much.